Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 13th Annual Indiana University Education Conference presented by Indiana Department of Children's Services and Strata Education Network. This year's theme is Creating Inclusion, Innovative, and Equitable Pathways for Learning During COVID-19. Again, we want to welcome you. I'm Emmy Award-winning reporter Steve Jefferson with 13 News, and I am so glad to be joined by the award-winning anchor, Fanchon Stinger from Fox 59, and we are delighted to welcome you. Good morning, Fanchon.
Good morning, Steve. It's so great to see you, and good morning to all of you who are joining us for the 13th Annual Indiana University Education Conference. You know, Indiana Black Expo is celebrating 50 years as an organization. What an accomplishment this is. IBE has been providing professional development training to educators and administrators to provide a quality education to every student for 13 years. This is the 13th year. So thank you to the Indiana Black Expo and all of our generous sponsors for making this conference this year virtually possible for all of you.
That's right. We want to thank our title sponsor, Indiana University, and our presenting sponsor, Indiana Department of Child Services, along with Strata Education Network. We also want to thank our other sponsors, Indiana State University, Lumina Foundation, GEO Academies, Marion County Health Department, Pacers Sports Foundation and Entertainment, Indianapolis Colts, Central Indiana Community Foundation, the Lilly Endowment, Visit Indy, and our training partner this year, Indiana Commission for Higher Education.
We would also, Steve, like to thank our conference partners. That would be MSD Wayne Township, MSD of Lawrence Township, Muncie Community Schools, MSD Pike Township, MSD Warren Township, the Indianapolis Public Schools, the Indiana Civil Rights Commission, thank you, Indiana Department of Education, Indiana Youth Institute, Ivy Tech, and the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa. Thank you to all.
Yes, thank you to all, because without all, this would not be possible. We also would like to thank the Conference Planning Committee for all their efforts in planning such a great conference this year, especially with making the adjustment to doing it virtually. And this is very important. Make sure that you complete your survey for each session you attend so you can get credit for your professional growth plan points, or if you need credit for the conference. Now, make sure you provide your name and information for an accurate account. Now, without that complete survey with your contact information, we cannot keep track of your attendance and will not be able to provide you or the Indiana Department of Education proof of your attendance and give you proper credit.
Let's get started with another very important and distinguished guest who's going to speak to you this morning. Please welcome our session moderator, that is Miss Brittany Collins. She is Manager of Post-Secondary Outreach and Career Transitions with the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. Let's welcome Brittany Collins. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning, Fanchon. Thank you all for joining us. I just wanted to remind you all of a few housekeeping notes as your moderator today. Remember, if you have a question, please feel free to use the Q&A box. We will be able to reference that towards the end of this session this morning. And again, as it's already been mentioned, please make sure that at the end of the session today, you do fill out the survey so that you can get your professional growth points as well as any continuing education units. We also want to make sure that you join us for all of the content throughout these next few days. We have a lot of exciting things planned for, again, educators at every end of the pipeline. And so with further ado, I am going to make another introduction to Dr. Deborah Curtis. Dr. Deborah Curtis began her tenure as the 12th president of Indiana State University on January 3rd, 2018. She is the first female and only the second graduate of Indiana State to serve as president. She came to Indiana State from the University of Central Missouri, where she has served as the provost as well as chief learning officer. Prior to becoming the provost at Central Missouri, Curtis served as the dean of the College of Education at Illinois State University, where she had served on the faculty for 26 years, advancing to rank 2 full professor. Earlier in her career, she served as a music specialist and coach in K-12 schools in Illinois and Indiana. Dr. Curtis earned her PhD from Indiana State University in Curriculum and Instruction with a specialization in secondary education and supervision of instruction. She holds a master's degree in music education from the University of Illinois and a bachelor's degree in music education from McMurray College. Throughout her career, Dr. Curtis has served her community and profession through engagement in a variety of service roles at the local, state, and national levels. She currently serves on the boards of the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce, the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, the Indiana State University Foundation, and the Indiana Campus Compact. She is also the Indiana representative on the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association Education Strategy Group and Attainment Academy. Dr. Curtis and her husband Lynn are the parents of 5 children and 9 grandchildren. Lynn worked in public education for nearly 40 years, as well as a teacher, coach, athletic director, principal, and school district superintendent. So take it away, Dr. Curtis.
Brittany, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And welcome from the beautiful campus of Indiana State University, where we have the distinct honor to have as one of our trustees, Tanya McKenzie, the president and general counsel of Indiana Black Expo. And ISU is incredibly proud of the work she has done, and now 50 years of service from Black Expo in the state of Indiana. We're so proud of her leadership. So thanks for putting on this event today. Now down to the business. It's truly my honor and privilege to introduce one of Indiana's greatest educational assets. As you've read, Teresa Lubbers was appointed in 2009 to serve as commissioner for Indiana's Commission for Higher Education. Her preparation for such a demanding role has been extensive, having served 17 years as a state senator while performing in a great many leadership roles with a steady focus on enhancing post-secondary education attainment for millions of Hoosiers here in Indiana. Commissioner Lubbers has accomplished so very much in her advocacy for a wide variety of educational endeavors. In addition, she's a co-founder of the Lugar Excellence in Public Service series. You've likely read about her vast list of accomplishments in the program for this event today. For my part, though, today I wanted to give you a little bit different picture of her amazing public service. Commissioner Lubbers invited me to join the team for the Attainment Academy, as we just mentioned, which is a project funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Lumina, and ECMC Foundation. The goal of this project is, through SHIO and Education Strategies Group, is to bring together cross-sector state teams led by SHIOs or higher ed system heads to engage in an 18-month multi-state academy focused on improving post-secondary credential attainment. The participating states are California, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Tennessee. And the reason I'm telling you this is I want to say something about Commissioner Lubbers' role with this project. She is a highly respected thought leader, not only in our state and our region, but she's a national leader in this important work of helping every citizen attain high-value credentials that transform their career forever. The participants of this project look to her and work at being a major part of what's going on in Indiana and use Indiana as a model for many other nationwide endeavors. Wow. I gotta say, she's a rock star. Commissioner Lubbers holds an undergraduate degree from Indiana University and a master's in public administration from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. It is indeed my pleasure and honor to introduce to you this highly respected national leader who inspires people with innovative, thought-provoking messaging. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Teresa Lubbers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Curtis, for that very, very kind and gracious introduction. I really need to thank you for your leadership at Indiana State and your unwavering commitment to low-income students and students of color. It's making a difference, and it's being reflected in the numbers of students who we see who are successful at Indiana State. So thank you, and it's great to partner with you. Good morning to everybody who's joining us here today. I know we all wish we could be together in person. but the format certainly shouldn't diminish in any way the importance of our gathering. So, on behalf of the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, let me just begin by saying it's my privilege to be here to share some thoughts with you about the increasing importance of higher education to ensure both economic and career opportunities for all Hoosiers. You know, educational equity has been an important part of the Commission's work for many, many years, because we know that adults without some sort of education beyond high school have limited opportunities. I know we're going to talk a lot about COVID-19 in the next few days. And one thing that we know for certain is that COVID-19 has exposed the reality that those who are hardest hit and have the most to gain from education and training are those who did not have any sort of education beyond high school. In other words, as we all know, and we've said so many times, education is the great equalizer, but it can also be the great divider. Here. The partnership, I want to talk a little bit about the partnership between the Commission and Indiana Black Expo, because it's really crucial to this narrative that we have of changing the narrative for so many people's personal lives. For 50 years, the mission of IBE has been a vehicle for social and economic advancement, and the advancement is linked to education. This work aligns to our mission of ensuring the needs of students and the state are aligned to our higher education system. It's why the students, and not state agencies or even institutions of higher education, are at the center of our work. The students are at the center of our work. We will double down on our efforts to close the educational achievement gaps and advocate for educational equity. And a key to that equation is continuing our strong partnership with Indiana Black Expo. I'm going to warn you, I'm going to provide a lot of data today, and much of it is going to be concerning. But I hope that you will take it in the spirit in which it is offered, and that is to drive an aggressive agenda to address the disparities in educational attainment. Let's turn for a moment to the Commission's agenda and emphasis on equity. Equity in education actually drove the creation of the 21st Century Scholars Program here in Indiana over 30 years ago. And this was a program to make certain that college would be affordable to all. In 2013, the Commission passed a resolution to cut the achievement gap in half by 2018 and close the gap completely by 2025. While we did successfully cut the achievement gap in half by 2018, we are still a long way from closing the gap entirely. The Commission included equity as one of its 3 key priorities in our most recent and the 4th strategic plan for Indiana for higher education, entitled Reaching Higher in a State of Change. We focus on the priorities of completion, equity, and talent. In our blueprint for change, we outline numerous strategies and policies that will help Indiana move forward in these 3 areas. In defining equity, the Commission says life's circumstances or obstacles should not dictate opportunity to succeed. Equity is critical to Indiana's progress, and we also know it requires targeted supports. Data are important to provide the context for change. Some of these data points that I'm going to share with you today may be surprising. We know that nearly 10,000 more students graduated high school in a decade, and virtually all of that growth was among underrepresented populations. Almost 1/3 of all high school graduates are from low-income households. Nearly 1/4 of all high school graduates were rural students, and rural students go to college at the lowest rate of any group in the state. Finally, Indiana's college-going rate has actually decreased from 65% in 2015 to 61% in 2018, with the decrease almost entirely attributed to a decrease in men's college-going rates. To help us better understand the achievement gap and highlight some of the areas of disparity, the Commission created an equity report in 2018, the first of its kind actually in the nation. This annual report, which we will be publishing again later this summer, shines a brighter light on persistent opportunity and completion gaps for underrepresented populations. To view the fuller picture of educational equity, we disaggregate the data by race and ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, and geography. We are broadening the 2020 College Equity Report, which comes out later this summer, to show the intersectionality in the data. This is the understanding of how aspects of a person's social categorization, including race, class, and gender, for example, may overlap to impact the person as a whole. Some of the early results from the 2020 report that I can share now highlight many of the racial inequities that the Commission is focused on and that align with the work of IBE. Black males in 2018 went to college at a rate of 47%, significantly lower than the statewide college going rate of 61%. This is simply not acceptable. The college going rate for Black females is closer to the statewide average at 57%. This also highlights the gender disparity for college readiness and success. Persistence is another crucial measurement for student success. It's one hurdle to get students into college. It's another to ensure that they continue and eventually complete their education. While the statewide average for persistence from the first year to the second year of college is 75%, only 54% of Black males and 63% of Black females are persisting. College completion is, of course, our most powerful tool for measuring success in higher education. Preparing students for higher learning, ensuring they can access quality, and helping them cross the finish line to a degree or credential is how we reach educational and economic success. We should celebrate that significant improvements have been made over the past 5 years. The on-time completion rate at four-year institutions has more than doubled for Black males, and Black females' on-time completion rates have jumped by more than 10 percentage points. Black students, however, are still behind in completing college on time. While there have been large strides in overall completion rates over the past several years, Black men and women complete four-year degrees on time at 22 and 29% respectively, and this compares to on-time completion rates between 40 and 50% for the population at large. The two-year completion rate for Black students is even more concerning. We have to close these gaps by having a better understanding of why they exist and a commitment to support and address college success. One important way we can help close these gaps is by strengthening educator diversity in the classroom. Studies have shown that minority students do better when they get to learn from at least one teacher of a color at some point in their educational careers. However, 93% of Indiana's educators are white, and only 11% of students enrolled in educator preparation programs are from underrepresented populations. In partnership with the state legislature, the Commission prioritizes diversity in the classroom through 2 financial aid programs aimed at recruiting and retaining minority educators. The William A. Crawford Minority Teacher Scholarship is for Black and Hispanic individuals who plan to teach in Indiana for at least 3 years. The Earlene S. Rogers Minority Teacher Stipend is for Black and Hispanic individuals who participate in student teaching and who agree to teach in Indiana for 3 years. There are 2 other initiatives I want to mention today that focus on ensuring affordability for students in teacher prep programs, but they are not adequately represented by students of color. One is the Next Generation Hoosier Educator Scholarship, which provides 200 high-achieving high school and college graduates with a scholarship of up to $30,000 if they commit to teach in Indiana for 5 years. And our STEM Teacher Recruitment Fund grants are provided to high-performing organizations working to increase the number of STEM teachers in Indiana school corporations. In both of those, we need higher percentage of students from underrepresented populations. Within the Commission's strategic plan, we focus on the educator pipeline. Our strategies to increase educational equity include increasing the number of minority students enrolling and completing educator preparation programs, creating educator prep programs that recruit and prepare teachers for targeted populations and communities, including rural and diverse areas, ensuring that a wide range of early college credit opportunities are available at all schools, and encouraging more people of color to utilize the state's scholarship funding to increase diversity in the teaching profession. One of Indiana's best tools to close the achievement gap is the 21st Century Scholars Program. It provides tuition for up to 4 years at public and private participating Indiana colleges and universities. We tell students, low-income students, that if you work hard in high school, we will make certain that you can afford to attend college. And it's working. Students go to college at a rate of 86%, over 20 percentage points higher than the statewide college-going average. Scholars go to college above the rates of all non-scholars, including low income, who attend at 38%, and higher income non-scholars, who attend at 68%. By every measure, 21st century scholars are exceeding their low income peers who are not scholars and are closing the gap with the overall college population at large. More than 40,000 Hoosiers have earned a college degree through the 21st Century Scholars Program. Students in the 21st Century Scholars Program are the only group on track to close the educational achievement gap by 2025. We're also working to build an active network of 21st Century Scholar alums who can recruit and mentor new 21st Century scholars. These alums are serving in key roles in the public and private sectors to improve the economy of our state. While there is no singular answer to ensure educational equity, the data are indisputable that the 21st Century Scholars Program is a game changer. In Indiana, we have a commitment to pay for what we value in higher ed, both in the way we fund public institutions and the way we provide financial aid. The Commission recently voted to put extra weight in our performance funding formula, which is the way we fund public institutions, to support equity measures as they are outlined in our strategic plan. This metric rewards institutions for graduating more Pell eligible students. While the focus is on socioeconomic status, the data show that this emphasis has a direct impact on racial and ethnic equity. In Indiana, Black students are eligible for federal Pell Grants at double the rate of both white and Hispanic students. Remember, in Indiana, we are 4th in the nation in need-based financial aid and 1st in the Midwest. And so we have the opportunity to provide financial aid to students to make sure they can afford to go to college. Through the Franco Bannon and 21st Century Scholars Program, we provide nearly $350 million annually in need-based financial aid. So what is new as of today, July 14th, 2020? The obvious answer is that the world has been turned upside down because of COVID-19. Black, Hispanic, and low-income communities have been disproportionately impacted. A recent article by the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce highlights the disparities in the economic impact from COVID-19. Black and Hispanic workers account for higher shares of job losses or lost hours of work. We must stay focused on the issues of economic disparity and use the strength of education to close those gaps. This is a moral and economic imperative for our state. We cannot allow this pandemic to cause further income disparity and social stratification. And unfortunately, that is what is happening. COVID-19 has accelerated many of the issues that higher education was already grappling with, such as enrollment declines, financial sustainability for colleges, and the broader adoption of online and remote learning. Despite the quick and fairly effective shift to providing online education for thousands of college students this spring, it was not a perfect transition. And one thing is obvious: disparities that have already been there are impacting some Hoosiers more and have been amplified through these issues concerning access to device, internet connectivity, and the strength of online curriculum. In an effort to address these issues that are further driving inequities around technology, Indiana will provide more than $60 million in federal funding through the CARES Act to K-12 and higher education institutions to improve remote learning and enhance quality. Indiana received over $500 million in federal funding to help at the K-12 and higher education levels. The Higher Education Emergency Relief Act directed at least half of that money go directly for emergency aid to students, with the other half went directly to institutions to help them transition away from classroom instruction and cover other COVID-19 related costs, such as housing and diagnostic testing. Addressing the high unemployment is also a critical piece of what the state of Indiana is doing to foster recovery. Governor Holcomb approved $30 million toward the Small Business Restart Fund, with at least $5 million of that directed to minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. And IBE and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation have formed a new partnership to reach minority businesses and workers through this fund. So what do we know about the plans for the fall? What we do know at this point is that Indiana institutions are planning to open and are developing comprehensive reopening plans. Understandably, these plans have placed the safety and health of students and staff as the main priority. A few campuses have recently stated that they will test every student who plans to come to the campus. Others are testing symptomatic students or those who have been exposed to COVID-19. None of Indiana's public colleges or universities are planning to transition to a solely online format. WGU Indiana and Purdue Global are examples of existing fully online options. Institutions are adjusting their academic calendars. They are resuming in-person instruction in August and will continue into Thanksgiving break. And then all public campuses, except Ivy Tech, will move to remote instruction through the end of the semester. Some institutions will not have a fall break. They will hold classes on Labor Day. They're doing everything they can to use the academic calendar to deal with COVID-19 related issues. They're pursuing a hybrid approach of instruction, including both in-person and remote instruction. Higher education institutions have also stepped up in the face of this uncertainty and supported their students, faculty, staff, and communities. Everything from providing free Wi-Fi in parking lots for students and community members to helping small businesses navigate federal financial assistance. Many of our institutions have contributed to the local healthcare landscape as well by providing personal protective equipment and manufacturing protective equipment with 3D printers and donating space or empty dorm rooms for hospital overflow. Above all, colleges and universities are focused on providing academic rigor and quality in their online instruction so that students will be fully prepared to continue their education in the fall. While our sights are set on the immediate future of fall enrollments and budgets, there are some knowns and unknowns. We know that we are currently facing a 7% cut for the state's higher education budget. This is not unexpected. Institutions have been developing plans to deal with a variety of scenarios as they significantly adjust based on these cuts. There is some good news. The good news is that state financial aid should not be impacted. The real unknown, however, remains focused on fall enrollment. We just don't know how many people will show up. So far, student behavior shows that students are intending to attend college. They intend to continue with their college plans. Historically, we have seen college enrollment go up during economic downturns, particularly at the community college level. We just have to wait to see if this will be the case in the fall. To help share our understanding and get an early indication of student behavior, the Commission, in partnership with the Indiana Department of Education, surveyed the graduating high school class of 2020. We received about 15,000 responses to the survey. Granted, this survey is self-selected, but there are some insights for us to gain in the results. Nearly 70% of the respondents plan to attend college in Indiana. 11% to attend college out of state. Almost 13% of respondents are either going directly to work or are unsure of their next steps. We also asked about the sector interests of those who took the survey. Health and life sciences and IT and business dominate the sector interests for those respondents. We've recently reached out with targeted messaging to each of these groups, trying to either reinforce their college decisions or provide greater clarity for those who are uncertain of their plans. The Commission has also taken steps during COVID-19, when the campuses have been shut down, to compile information and guidance for colleges and universities, students, and families. We've worked closely with state and federal officials to provide flexible timing to complete academic requirements. We've collected and distributed updated guidance to institutions and students, and we will continue to do that. The Commission also decided to extend Indiana's FAFSA deadline, which allowed 6,000 additional students to submit their FAFSA to be considered for financial aid. Recent tuition increases in Indiana have been the lowest in 3 decades, and now more than ever, it is imperative to hold the line on tuition. At the state level, a multi-agency team has driven the state's people-focused response called Rapid Recovery for a Better Future, to help meet Hoosiers where they are and take them to the next step in their lives. We know that Hoosiers need the skills and education that provide good jobs in a changing economy. We think Indiana is uniquely prepared to address the economic issues that were accelerated because of COVID-19. The creation of the Governor's Workforce Cabinet in 2018 provided the framework for aligning and scaling workforce and education training programs and funding. Through the state's Next Level Jobs, the Workforce Ready Grant has already enrolled over 25,000 Hoosiers in high-demand, tuition-free certificate programs, with nearly 14,000 Hoosiers completing a certificate with a median annual wage gain of $6,400. These are very positive results, but we now have thousands more Hoosiers who need to access affordable education and training options. We know some Hoosiers will go back to their job, but for many, the job requirements will have changed. We know that many will not have a job to return to and will need to get new skills. And we know that another group of Hoosiers will seek education and training so that they're not so vulnerable to the changes in the economy. And we need to be prepared to meet the needs of each of those groups. The latest data show unemployment peaked at 17% in April and was just over 12% in May. This compares to a pre-COVID rate of 3.2%. The June unemployment numbers will be coming out this Friday. Data also show that Hoosiers with less than a high school diploma were most likely to be unemployed in May at 37%. Black Hoosiers were also the most likely race to be unemployed at 34%. Through the Rapid Recovery for a Better Future initiative, and with the injection of $50 million in federal funding through the CARES Act, we are expanding the Next Level Jobs program and helping even more Hoosiers gain access to free short-term education and training programs. Hoosiers can learn about these resources through a new online hub, yournextstepin.org, which connects people to job resources, education and training opportunities, and financial support. All of this, of course, is to support the ultimate goal of helping Hoosiers take the next step to get a new job quickly, get a better job through affordable or free education and training, or access other critical support that might be needed, like food insecurity or struggles with mental health. A critical piece of the rapid recovery effort is a comprehensive outreach network, which empowers community and faith-based organizations, employers, philanthropic groups, groups like IBE to be the trusted sources of information within their own communities. The goal is to help Hoosiers hear from local voices, trusted voices of information who say, yes, you can go back to finish your education. And here are ways Indiana can help you accomplish that goal. We've been in contact with more than 100 of these organizations, and the number is growing, making a powerful, combined, on-the-ground network to reach Hoosiers where they are. In fact, many of you are here with us today at this virtual convening. There are, we know, long simmering issues of racial injustice, and higher education can and must play a role in resolving them. What has become clear throughout this time is that many existing racial inequities have been accelerated due to COVID-19. Our lens at the Commission is focused on higher education, but within the broader context of societal impact. These are not new issues, but we're seeing a more focused and necessary discussion about these issues right now. A deeper awareness of the existing problem is vital to all of this work and will continue to help us make the changes that must occur to ensure educational equity in Indiana. Addressing the needs of the immediate future through efforts to help people get a good job must be balanced with a commitment to career advancement so all Hoosiers can progress. So where do we go from here? Indiana's institutions, the Commission for Higher Education, and the state of Indiana are zeroing in on equity. We will continue to spotlight achievement gaps in the areas of college readiness, college access and success, and college completion through the Commission's annual equity report. The data must drive strategies for change that improve the lives of those who too often have been left behind. We're proud to partner with Indiana Black Expo in order to address racial inequities in education and beyond. We want to be active listeners and participants, and we need your help, especially in these areas: lowering unemployment, increasing gender parity in college success rates, and closing the gaps in teacher diversity. Right now, 48.5% of Hoosiers have a degree or credential beyond high school. While our rates have improved by more than 10% in the last 10 years, the number is still not high enough. Our goal is to reach 60% by 2025. That number is based on the job needs and projected employment opportunities. Through our efforts at the Commission and with the Governor's Workforce Cabinet, we are addressing these issues, but we need your help in spreading the word. I encourage you to connect with the Rapid Recovery Outreach Network or visit yournextstepin.org and share with those around you who may be ready to take the next step to a more secure future. We have a major concern with college-going rates and completion rates of Indiana men, especially Black men in particular, who go to college and complete at significantly lower rates than the statewide average. Just over half of male students overall in Indiana, compared to over 2/3 of female students, go to college. The gender disparity flips, however, when looking at specifically at programs of study, such as STEM fields. Just 11% of Black women in the 2018 graduating high school class enrolled in a STEM program. Black men enrolled at 18%. We must empower Indiana's Black students to major in STEM-related courses and aid them in getting to these opportunities. Finally, we need your help with teacher diversity. Just 4.5% of all Indiana teachers are Black. Indiana has put resources into scholarships and stipends for Black and minority students, and we need more students to apply for these opportunities. Encouraging more students of color to view the teaching profession as an option for their lives is vital to this collective work. Along with our partners at IBE and others around the state, our combined efforts will ensure higher education is more inclusive by providing the targeted supports needed so all Hoosier students can enjoy the benefits associated with a college degree or educational training that is aligned to a good job. We must continue to strive for closing all the educational gaps and equity concerns facing us today. I appreciate you letting me share this time with you, and I look forward to the rest of the conference in the next few days. I know I've shared a lot of information. I hope it has provoked some questions on your part, and I'll be glad to answer some of those. And we'll ask the Commission's own Brittany Collins to moderate the question part of our session.
Thank you, Commissioner. We do have a couple of questions that have come in the chat so far. First one getting to kind of the going back to campus element of things. So it's been asked, will students who plan to go to college and universities be responsible for paying increased technology fees, even though they may not have that option in taking online classes? So could you talk a little bit more about what some of those technology discussions have looked like, and also how mandatory fees work in state financial aid?
Yes, so technology fees already exist at many of our colleges and universities, and it depends on the program of study. There are some discussions going forward about how this will look in the fall. And I know there's been some concern on the part of some students and some families that if they are getting more of their programs online, what does that look like in terms of a cost structure? I don't believe, as I mentioned earlier, that any of our colleges and universities are planning to go to strictly online in the fall. And each of those colleges and universities is dealing with their own budgets at this point. I have not heard of technology increases. That doesn't mean that they won't be some, but I have not heard of them at this point.
Okay. Another question that we have on the vein of teacher diversity, we have a few questions. One of them, could you please repeat the naming for our student teaching stipend for minority students?
It's the Bill Crawford, the stipend is the Earlene Rogers, and the Minority Teacher Scholarship is the Bill Crawford Scholarship.
Okay, thank you. Another one that we have is related to Next Generation Hoosier Educator Scholarship, and the question is around undocumented students, and again, thinking of opportunities for additional students of color. If you have any comments or feedback to that, and then I can also talk about kind of what we've done on an outreach end to also work with undocumented students.
Well, I will defer to you for that part. I will say that state law does not allow state financial aid to go to undocumented students, so we don't have any flexibility in that regard.
And on our end as well, from an outreach standpoint, is also being able to connect students, again, throughout the state of Indiana with additional opportunities and resources. So on our team, we also try to look and work with national partners as well as local partners who do offer scholarship opportunities. Again, to students who have DACA status or who are undocumented, so that they can still get connected and plugged in to resources that are available within the state of Indiana. We have a few more questions that have come in the midst. I do want to take a second to pause. We will go through and answer these, but I know we do have Dr. James Wimbush back on, VP of Diversity, Equity, and Multicultural Affairs at Indiana University. So I did want to pause to give him the floor as well for a second to address the audience.
Thank you, Brittany. It's really a pleasure to be here. I am incredibly honored to be part of this wonderful conference and excited about the important and insightful conversations we will have over the next 3 days. We've just heard a wonderful presentation by Commissioner Lubbers, and I know that there's many, many more to come. Every year, I look forward to this event and our wonderful partnership with Indiana Black Expo, working with its terrific staff led by Tanya McKenzie, the president and CEO of IBE. I always enjoy and learn from the incredible guest speakers whose insight and perspectives provide attendees with a unique and a one-of-a-kind experience. And of course, I'm uplifted by the wonderful people attending the conference, the educators, community leaders, students, administrators, all united with a desire to create a more inclusive and equitable environment for all. Indiana University is committed to ensuring campus communities are environments where racial and ethnic diversity is respected and bigotry condemned. Recently, President McRobbie issued a statement reaffirming Indiana University's commitment to diversity and equity and outlined 5 new anti-racist and racial equity initiatives to be implemented across all of our campuses. These include the Pandemic Health Disparities Fund, a fund dedicated to providing programs and resources to Black, Hispanic, Latina, and Latina communities who have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19, as Commissioner Lubbers mentioned earlier. Also, a $7 million grant provided to the IU School of Medicine to teach medical students about health disparities in minoritized communities, and the Racial Justice Research Fund, which provides startup research grants and brings together researchers working on racial equity and justice issues. Additionally, the University Naming Committee will lead a review of all named buildings across all of our campuses to possibly remove the names of individuals from buildings who have held beliefs in opposition to IU's fundamental values. And finally, IU will work to address and improve upon university practices, policies, and programs to rid itself of structural racism. All of these initiatives can be viewed on our newest website, racialjustice.iu.edu. These initiatives come just as we close out the year-long celebration of Indiana University's bicentennial celebration, marking 200 years of educational excellence. The celebration has given us the opportunity to reflect on our past, recognizing not only the incredible achievements that have brought us to this moment, but the strides we must continue to make to ensure our future is fair, equitable, and safe for all of our communities. With these new initiatives in place, I cannot think of a better way to start the next 200 years of Indiana University. However, it is important to recognize that Indiana Black Expo is also celebrating an anniversary of its own. For 50 years, Indiana Black Expo has provided countless individuals and with lots of innovative programming, hands-on initiatives, and wonderful educational and cultural experiences. I cannot be more proud of this organization's success, and I am also proud that IU has been part of it since its very beginning. I look forward to seeing IBE and events like the Indiana University Education Conference continue to flourish. As we look to the future, we must continue to provide students, especially Black students, with environments where they are not only safe, but are also allowed to excel, both culturally and academically. It is events like this that showcase the importance of creating diverse environments where everyone thrives. It is people like you who students will look up to as mentors, as educators, as friends. It is events like this, people like you doing the work to create inclusive and diverse environments that will undoubtedly leave a lasting impression for years to come. Thank you and enjoy the 13th Annual Indiana University Education Conference. And again, Brittany, thank you for allowing me this space.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. We do want to answer a few more questions before we get ready to transition at 9:05. Do want to remind folks, because a few have asked, information about the survey will be shared in the chat for you to complete, again, to get those professional growth points as well as continuing education units. We did get a question as far as educators from out of state. Right now, we do have that set in place currently within Indiana, so part of that may be checking with the guidelines for your state for if they will accept this as additional training, but feel free to follow back up with conference organizers who would be happy to help you work through that particular piece. I'm going to kind of group some similar questions. Could you speak more, Commissioner Lubbers, about, again, our goals and efforts behind increasing teacher diversity, and also questions have been prompted about what that may look like, as well as diversifying our faculty pipelines within education?
Great questions. You know, the issue of teacher diversity in our K-12 system, I think, has been one that we've been focused on for a long time. If you go back actually to 3 strategic plans ago, that from the Commission for Higher Education, we started looking at this issue. And you know, the data, again, are fairly indisputable that students of color benefit when there's someone who has been a teacher of color as well, both in terms of their learning, but also in terms of the likelihood that they might consider becoming a teacher themselves, which we actually need to inspire them to do that. So We've called this out in our new strategic plan again with very specific strategies. We had a conference a couple years ago, in fact, at Indiana University, and brought in several national speakers to talk about this, about efforts underway. But I'll be candid, we're not making as much progress as we need to make. This is the one area that I think of all that I wanted to make an appeal to you today, is that we really need your help to publicize these programs, to mentor teachers. We need, certainly we need more male Black teachers in the classroom as well. The faculty issue is a different one that I think each campus is dealing with in their own way, but I think it does point out an opportunity for us that maybe I need to take advantage of, and that is at a upcoming meeting of our commission. Maybe we need to look at some of the faculty composition of faculty. We've never really done that. We have academic officers who come together, so I'm informed by that question and the need to probably dig a little deeper at the commission.
Thank you. Additional question, again, to prompt was, could you again reiterate the information about job training as it relates to rapid recovery next level as a whole?
Yes, thank you. I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the governor's workforce cabinet, and so in addition to the commission, so I am able to work on these issues a lot. And the governor's under the umbrella of Next Level Jobs, we essentially have two big programs. One is the Workforce Ready Grant, which is the program that we provide to individuals, where we had about 150, we've added about 50 more certificates, which are tuition free in high demand areas, so that we know if someone comes back and gets one of these certificates, that there is a job waiting for them. These are good jobs that are available with these certificates. We also have, as a part of that, the Employer Training Grant, where the state provides up to $100,000 to an employer to train their incumbent or new workers. So with the combination of the two, a program that really goes after the individual and then a program that funds the employer is really helping us. And it really helped us when this money came to us from the federal government, which we have to spend this $50 million by the end of the year. So if we had to design new programs at this time, that would have been very difficult. But what we've been able to do is to scale our current programs and tell Hoosiers, this is the time to come back and get the training you need.
Another question, where can students find more information, especially about minority teaching related scholarships? I do also want to alert folks that that survey is now available in the chat who need to complete that as far as credits. Please make sure that you fill out all of the information in the form in order to be considered for those. And again, we'll pass it back to the question. So where can students find more information about minority teaching scholarships?
Well, the state ones you can reach on the commission's website, you can find those. And then, you know, I think we maybe need to partner with IDE to see if there are other scholarships out there. But from the standpoint of the state, the best thing to do is to go to the Commission for Higher Education's website.
Okay. And then one last question that kind of pulls a few others together. Are you aware of efforts or other things in place that are helping with folks kind of in maybe transition to teaching? So individuals who maybe are already credentialed but are looking to switch career paths.
Well, this is very dear to my heart because when I was in the legislature, I actually carried legislation that created the transition to teaching program, recognizing that there were a lot of people who were either they had been in other careers and they knew that that wasn't their calling and they wanted to shift, or they had a high level of expertise in a subject matter and wanted to share that in education. And so there are several transition to teaching programs through our schools of education and other programs. So I would say, you know, we can provide some of that at the state level, and then each of the individual colleges and universities has their own information about their transition to teaching program.
Okay. Again, do want to allow folks the time to fill out and complete the survey. We do want to make sure that we allow some time for transition. Commissioner Lubbers, do you have any final thoughts or calls to action? And as we wrap up, if there are additional follow-up questions, I've also included my email address in the chat. We definitely want to continue the conversation and continue the outreach and support overall and getting these resources out to communities. So wanted to alert folks of that as well. And then we do also have our Learn More Indiana website linked in the chat too, where you can find, again, the scholarship information as well as overall resources available to folks in Indiana about college and career.
I guess I would just conclude by, thanking you again for giving me the opportunity to share some of this information with you. As I said at the beginning, I know there was a lot of data in this presentation, and the data are important. But as I said a couple times, they're only important to the extent that they drive the strategies for change. But there's a lot here, and if it would be helpful to any of you in your particular day jobs or your commitments that you have to have some of this information, we can certainly share some of that data with you as well. And we stand ready to partner with IBE in going forward to make sure that educational opportunities and equity is the reality in Indiana. So thank you again. Have a great conference.
Thank you.